Hello, hello, and how is everybody doing? And welcome to my channel. This is OG Star Wars on the OG Star Wars channel here, Alora Baga, aka Alora Baga. And I am here with my ladies here, with exception of two, for Babedom Menace, and I'm honored to always host once a month when it's my turn. And we have some topics for you guys. I'm so excited. But first of all, let's go ahead and have Mary just go ahead and let us know where we can find her at and what's going on with her.
Well, hi guys. I haven't. I just realized I haven't done my spiel in like forever.
Ooh.
It's Mary B, the mistress of mayhem, disruptor of the narrative, and official wham and card holder. You can find me over on my channel, Mary Mayhem. Blah 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 blah. I'm going to be having Lit Dev, Literature Devil, and Valiant Renegade over on my channel tonight to break down some of these topics when we talking about here as well. But then as well as that, like some of the Disney financial legal jargon in regards to the whole special immunities and things like that. So yeah, come check my channel out at 7:30 afterwards, guys.
Awesome, awesome. Yes, and so happy to have you on my channel. I hardly host anybody on my channel. I don't know why. It's not like I don't want to have anybody on my channel. It's just like I hardly have any panelists with me. I need to kind of break that habit. So, all right, Lorena, let us know what's going on with you.
Oh, well, folks, this is Lorena Creole, of course, bringing you that spice to sci-fi and pop culture analysis and keeping it real when it comes to theme parks. Of course, I'm on Twitter, Instagram, and of course on YouTube with various live streams and videos. What am I doing tonight? Oh, yeah, I know what I'm doing tonight. Getting the Dark Council guys on time to start. They've been real good at that.
Them on time.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, they've been starting on time for quite a while. So they've been doing really, really good. So that's permanently on the Drunk 3PO Basement channel. So every Wednesday, tonight, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Please come and join us over there. And that's what I got going on tonight.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So yes, and then I know like Wednesday nights are very busy nights, and we're gonna have like all three of us are gonna probably be like live streaming almost around the same time. Because tonight I do my once a month show. It's called HoloNet Journal, and basically it's about Lucasfilm, this day and time in Lucasfilm. So I go back in history, Disney, and so because I missed April or March, it's going to be March and April. So we're going to go over like development in Star Wars movies, in March and April, and expanded universe, and just nerd out and talk about that stuff. And that's at 7:30 on my channel. So those in the chat, and I'll get you guys here soon.
Very cool.
Well, and the wonderful thing about having computers is that you can leave multiple tabs open on your browser, so you can contribute views to all of these wonderful ladies this evening. You can head on over to Dark Council and go hang out with the boys over there, and Lorena, of course. So you can make sure that you sit here with Laura and get into that nitty gritty of Star Wars. You can come over with me and you can do all of those things and leave a tab open, and you don't have to pick and choose because we live in a progressed society.
Yes.
Society.
Get it all.
In a society.
Get it all.
Yes. Yes. So just like come in there, like the button, say hello, let us know you're here. And then if you're sliding in between live streams, then let us know that you're here, and press that like button and stuff and support. Yes.
Yeah. We appreciate the hell out of you guys. You guys are amazing, and we just love you to pieces for it.
Yes, exactly. So we have some amazing topics here that we're going to talk more about Amber Turd and what's going on with that. I love your laugh.
Be crazy. Literally
Right.
a full-fledged lunatic had her ass shredded by a psychologist on the stand yesterday. It was so beautiful. I was lulling so hard. I was sitting there watching them give like watching Dr. Curry which is the name of the doctor, the psychologist who broke everything down. And she sat there and listed the various ways that a person can be diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, how they can be diagnosed, and what the difference between bipolar and borderline personality disorder is, and the dramatic shifts that they can make from one moment to the next, and how that works. And it was so hilarious watching her break that down, how it fit perfectly with everything that we've actually seen out of Amber. And I was just so impressed by this woman. She couldn't even be phased. She wasn't even phased by the cross counsel. She was like, they kept getting stuff wrong, and she was like, actually, no, that's not correct. And she was just a stellar witness on the stand. It was amazing.
Awesome.
I loved it.
Awesome.
I loved it.
Yeah, awesome. I can't wait to get into this. And then we're going to get into Elon Musk and a little bit about the Twitter stuff. I've been like sitting there with my coffee and my popcorn and scrolling through and like, oh, this is getting cool. This is getting fun. I get to laugh at all these guys have their meltdown, you know? So
Oh, it's been hilarious. Yeah.
yes, it has. And so we have Grumpy Old Ninja Kintaro. So I don't know if I said that right. Hola and hail. Oh, loveliest of ladies. Quick question. Where would Miss hashtag me poo land precisely on the hashtag hot crazy matrix? Have an awesome stream.
Oh, she's gonna be up there in like the highest end of the spectrum on both, right? Because let's not pretend like she's not hot. She is. She's hot. Although she's got some bags under her eyes the last few days.
She's hot. She's a danger zone chick.
She's the total danger zone. She's like, that's her hotness alone is a warning sign.
She is the person that people say, I will bang crazy just once at least.
Oh yeah.
Exactly.
I can get away with it. I think I can get away with it.
Right.
No.
Just once. Just
she
once.
shows up at your door like, oh, you thought you could get rid of me?
Wrap your stapper before you tap her, guys. Don't mess with that level of crazy. She's a full-fledged lunatic. But I guess I shared the Milani video. Maybe we should do the older news. It's not super old. It's just a couple of days. But like it was huge news that Amber Heard was caught red-handed or red-lipped, I guess, in a lie. She got caught red-handed in a lie. So I have the Milani video up. Do we want to share that first?
We can if you can go ahead and stretch it out real quick. And I'm going to say hello, start saying hello to the chat, because without you guys, we wouldn't be here talking. You guys are the main reason why we do this, and your support is greatly appreciated. And have Darmont here, McQuaid. Hello there. And then Zaggerot 315. Hello, how are you doing? And of course, Miss Lovely Lorena, who is also panelist. She's in the chat, just chilling with everyone, getting everybody all hyped up and all that. And then Kathy Skywalker. Hello, everyone. A channel member here. Thank you so much for your continued support as a channel member. And then D Nice Gamer. D Nice Gamer. There we go.
Nice gamer.
D Nice Gamer.
I can't be the only one who wants to talk like an Italian. Hey, bibbidi bobbidi boobity.
And then we have Dirathon 405. Arf arf arf. Hello to you too. I guess that's in your language. That's what that means. I don't know. And then he goes on to say, sup. Hey, what's up? And how are you doing? And there you go. And find Miss Mary Mayhem on her channel there. And of course, subscribe to the lovely ladies here. All of us, we have our content. We may have something in common, but we also offer a lot more, each one of us. And so you'll expand your horizons no matter which channel you visit. So, and that's what I love about this, our community here. And let's see here. Let's scroll down a little bit more. Ancient Aliens in here too as well. Maudie, and thank you to my mods as well. Thank you so much, you guys. And we have about 18 beautiful souls in here, so please hit that like button. And yes, and then continue to share in the stream or the chat and chat it up and all that. Stunning and Brave Megatron. Sup, Zach? He says hello, Stunning and Brave. Glad you are here with us. And then if I'm missing anybody, I apologize. I don't mean to. And then Batu, hello there. And Demogeni, what's up, you guys? Are you at least? What's up? How are you doing? Yes. And then did you switch it out, or do I have to Is that the one you're sharing right there? Or is that I'm gonna pull this up?
That's the Milani. So I guess for context, and you may want to put us on the side of it because there's going to be some detail in the actual video that I'm gonna have to try to pause to catch. So for context for this, this is going to be a really short video. Oh, do you want to grab that super chat? I'm sorry.
Yes, I am. So, Dimajanai at $2 super chat. Thank you so much, my homie. How you doing? Hello, my fellow pimp. Great to see you, beautiful people. And what's up to you as well? I'm glad to see you, and I'll catch you on Dark Council. I'll be in there in the chat supporting.
I missed your face, Dimajanai. You're such a sweetheart. Dimajanai is so wonderful. I miss you, man. We got to. I seriously, I miss the guy. I want to go hang out with you, Dimajanai. Like, we got to do that, dude. I miss your face. So for context for this this particular video, when this entire trial started off, there was a very big deal made at the beginning of the trial by Heard's lawyers about how she was a professional at hiding the bruises, because everybody came together and were like, look, girl, why you got bruises these days, but none the day after? And then they come back the day after that. Where the bruises go, girl? Where the bruises at? And so everybody was rightly pointing out that it was unreasonable to assume that she actually had bruises when one day they're there and they're puffy and they're swollen and she looks like she's a real mess, and then the next day it's gone, and then they would be returning. They were the magical abrasions on her face, right? And so the lawyer gets up and she says, well, the reason that is because Amber Heard is adept at covering these bruises. She wanted to look her best. She didn't want to walk around looking like that. And then they pulled out a very specific compact. This is a Milani compact that she was using to mix the different colors and to blend them together to cover the different facial issues that they claimed she was experiencing. And she made a big deal specifically about this compact because it was supposed to be the best compact. It was supposed to be the best you could use to cover, and that's why she was able to do it, was because a combination of her using the best product available alongside being adept at using that product, right?
Can I add something in here real quick?
Please.
As someone who buys much more makeup than I should, but I admit to my addiction, Milani is something that you can walk into the CVS or the Walmart and pick up. It's not like it's Lauder. It's not like it's Clinique. It's not like it's Tom Ford. As much money as she has, I'm surprised she didn't get Tom Ford Cosmetics. Milani is not the absolute freaking best brand. Beauty bloggers would laugh at this and say, this is what you picked up.
Well, I think, and there's some explanation as to the reason why she went with this. It was featured in an article, and I'll get into that, like, because I can pull that up as well. There are multiple articles that were written about the best products available at like in mass that you could use for certain things, and Milani was later added to one of those articles, which is why people called it a fake. Yes, I'm probably getting ahead of myself, and I'm mixing up the words here. People said that this Milani video was a job that it was a hit job on Amber Heard, that Milani had taken sides with Johnny Depp and they were lying about when it was actually released because someone found an article from 2015 with the Milani compact in it, which will make more sense here in a second. Well, it turns out that was an updated article, and if you go back and actually look at the Wayback Machine, when it was originally published, it wasn't in there, so that was debunked. But it was featured in multiple articles, and that's the assumption where Amber Heard Googled what the best was or whatever, and this probably came up in an article, and she was like, oh, okay, and so she ran with that. So let's go ahead and look at this video, because there's no way she used that compact. It's not possible, because it didn't exist at the time that she's claiming to have covered up her bruises from Johnny Depp with it. So you see here what Amber Heard carried in her purse for the entire relationship. Pause to read.
Mhm.
The Milani color correcting concealer palette. Take note, alleged abuse was around 2014 to 2016. She got divorced in 2016. The makeup palette release date was December, the end
Boom.
of 2017.
Whoops.
It didn't
Mhm.
even exist.
Cause I'm an international super spy. Super spy!
Oh my gosh, that is freaking hilarious.
Wow.
What
Look
a
at that.
clapback.
So if you watch the whole video, it's only like 20 seconds long. If you watch the whole video in full, here it is. It's so fun. It's so fun. Whatever heard for the entire relationship.
Cause I'm an international super spy. Super spy!
The thing is, okay, so I think her lawyers failed her ass right there because they're supposed to do this research, right? They're supposed to say, okay, well, this is just how I'm making sense of this. Her lawyers failed her.
Look at her
They're
team.
not even doing research for her or saying, hey, wait a minute here, maybe we should look into this stuff, like what you've been carrying makeup wise and blah blah blah. Has this really came out? I mean, seriously, maybe I'm expecting too much of the lawyer themselves.
Laura, have you looked at her legal team? That one female old goat doesn't wear makeup. She doesn't know what the hell's going on. No, they took her at her word. I'll tell you exactly what happened. She walked in there and she said, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Okay. Yeah. So that
she walked in there and she said, "Hey, this is what I use. This is what happened. This is." She pulls it out of her purse. She whips it out and she says, "This is what I did." And they took her at face value because that's what lawyers do, right? They have to take their they can't know every possible. I guarantee none of them thought to look at the release date of this makeup. That's an absurd factoid to have on hand.
Yeah, because the only people that would look at that would be if you were seriously into the beauty game. That you would even think to look that up.
Yeah.
Well, do you guys remember Legally Blonde?
Yes.
Do you remember how she won that case in the end of it, where she goes and I think I've got I don't want to play it because it's a movie and you might get a copyright claim, but there's this whole big deal at the end where the girl is on trial as the woman on trial she's a fitness guru, right? And she the way that she makes all of her money is by convincing women that they can have a perfect body by doing her workouts, but she got liposuction. And so she wouldn't clear her own name because it would mean ruining her reputation by saying I was getting liposuction at the time of the murder. So her stepdaughter's on the stand and her stepdaughter is testifying against her. I saw her standing over my father's body with blood all over her, right? And so she gets up there and she's testifying to this, and Elle Woods is trying to figure out how to question this witness. And she's like, well, what did you do? Well, I was in the shower. I didn't hear the gunshot go off. Oh, you were in the shower. And this goes over and over again. You were in the shower. And she looks like an idiot, right? Elle Woods, the Legally Blonde girl. She looks like an idiot. They're like, yes, we get it. She was in the shower. Can you move on? And she goes, well, what were you doing earlier that day? Well, she's like, well, I got up, got a coffee, went and got a perm, came home and got a shower. And she's like, wait, you were in the shower? And they're like, yes, she was in the shower. She's like, wait a minute. I'm sorry. How many perms have you had before in your life? And she goes on to say, I don't know, 2 every year since I was 12. She goes, well, then how did you not know that as a person getting a perm that you were going to deactivate the critical chemical in this that holds the perm in place? And the girl, she's caught. She's on the stand as a person who should have known that getting a shower would absolutely destroy her perm. Right. And everybody in the comments section of this video, which by the way, it had like over 4 million views on a channel on TikTok that normally gets anywhere between 20 to 80K views on a video. It had over 4 million views. The comment section full of people going, yes, get him, Milani. Elle Woods would be proud. Legally Blonde would be proud. The whole comment section just in total support of Johnny Depp. And most of these people are women. It's amazing. The females are behind Johnny Depp on this.
Oh yeah, they are. They definitely are. And the thing is, like, maybe because I have, I've done background investigations and stuff, and so I question things in that nature. Like, well, why didn't the lawyers at least look into, like, okay, make sure our stuff is valid here, our point's valid, and let's go ahead and this kind of cosmetic that you carry, let's make sure that, it's something that has been brought out within the time frame of because cosmetics come and go. We all know that, especially us who wear them and stuff. So styles or brands or like certain types within the brand, they come and go. You have limited editions, blah, 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 blah. Make sure you get your shit right. But then again, you guys have a point too on, well, look at the lawyer. She doesn't even care about her face.
Right.
Obviously.
Well, and how do you control for that? How do you control for that? How do you control for all of the lies that Amber Heard tells? You can't, right? Amber Heard can't even keep up with her own lies, let alone her lawyers keeping up with her lies. The girl is a lying vomit machine. Everything that comes out of her mouth is an untruth, right? Like you can't keep up with all of the information. That's why people who lie constantly, it eventually comes back to them, right? That's why the whole saying honesty is the best policy is such a thing, because if you tell so many lies that you can't even keep up with what's true anymore, eventually that house of cards is going to cave in on you. How could they? They're just people. Not that I like them, but they're still just people.
Right. Yeah. Oh my God. So we have any other for Amber Heard that you have for us, Mary?
I do actually. I have a whole nother video for you before we get into I've got quite a bit actually on the whole Amber Heard thing.
Oh yeah, you've been I've been following you for that because I don't have time to sit and watch. I've been watching you on Twitter and stuff and watching your videos because I don't have time to sit and watch right now. So anything else?
I've got a sassy girl here who, and this is actually when you see opposition to Amber Heard and what it is that she is representing in regards to the female victim aspect of this, and when you see people who are in support of Amber Heard, it's almost always some lunatic like this. Okay. So this is and I've found many of these videos, but this is a good example of the types of videos that you see on TikTok and social media in general that come out against Johnny Depp. And you're going to do a spit take because she has no real logic here other than, oh my God, women might actually have to be put on the same playing field as men. Right. So this is pretty devastating actually to watch as a woman that this is how women think.
Have you ever seen so many men so interested in a domestic violence case before? No, you haven't. Have you ever seen so many memes made by men talking about, look at this cool shit Johnny did in court?
God forbid.
This is bad. This is going to be bad for us. When men get excited about a domestic violence case, don't be excited. Because that means I always am very wary, no matter what is happening in the world, no matter what the fucking angle is, there's a way to spin it against women. And especially something like this, oh my God, it's going to be so bad. Like there's so many memes about this. And it's because it will set a precedent. And it will shift the paradigm a little bit in how things are talked about.
Good.
And I don't think it will be for the better.
Yep. That's it. She has no real reasoning except, oh my God, women might it'll set a precedent that men can be victims too. We might actually have to acknowledge that men can be victims of domestic abuse. We might actually have to stop destroying and tearing down men for I mean, that literally sounds like exactly what came out of Amber Heard's mouth, which is, go ahead, Johnny, tell the world, Johnny, Johnny Depp, too, I'm a victim of domestic violence. See how many people will believe you or side with you. That's exactly what that sounds like. This kind of ideology, this kind of approach to men, enduring the kind of abuse that Johnny Depp endured. And make no mistake, he endured abuse at the hands of Amber Heard. Not just the emotional abuse, which is when people think of the type of abuse that women can inflict. They tend to think of it being an emotional aspect of abuse, but the physical abuse that Johnny Depp endured at her hands, make no mistake, nobody wants to acknowledge that. Men have been laughed at because of this. And it's so important that that paradigm does shift and that we begin to progress in our knowledge and our perspective of how it is that men have to deal with these sorts of situations. We have to look at all of the facts. Women can't just be the only perpetual victims of domestic violence and us live in an equal society. If you wanted equality, women, you wanted to be able to face facts and to be able to engage in all of the wonderful opportunities that come with equality and freedom that men have. That means accepting harsh realities too. And that means that you are perfectly capable of abusing and victimizing men, and that women do it all the time. And we have to own that. We have to own that as women, that we're just as capable of that.
Yeah, we have to. The thing is, like, okay, so this goes back to that. So when you want equality, when you start stressing equality, that doesn't mean to take away equality from someone else so that you can have equality. And this Me Too movement that, of course, who was the one that helped fund it, right? Who's the one that helped found it?
Oh God, Amber Heard was a big face of that. She was a face of Me Too.
Exactly. And the point I'm making is like, okay, so for many years, like women, like men and women have their I would say stereotype, but I'm not saying it in a bad way, but we have our virtues, we have our points that make us and balance us out as genders, or race, or not race, genders. Women are nurturing and soft, men are protectors and blah blah blah. But because men have that strong stature to protect and stuff, they feel that men can't be abused. But women, because we are soft in nature and nourishing and stuff, that we are weak, so we can get abused. And I think that's one thing that we need to step away from, is that even though men are strong, they can still succumb to abuse. And just because women are soft and nourishing doesn't mean that they are weak either. But
in the same breath, and just to piggyback off what you're saying, because you're completely right. Like the stereotypical perspectives of women are that women are the gentle, nurturing gender, and that men are the protective gender, right? And though we understand that there's some crossover, but in the same breath that someone is sitting there acting like men are too big and strong to be beaten down, they will tell a man to stand there and never put his hands on a woman, no matter what she does. Right. Yeah. And so they expect you to be strong and capable, but also to never use that strength. You're not allowed to use it. You're not allowed to fight back. You're not allowed to put your hands on a woman, but you're also too strong to be able to be hurt by women. Bull crap. You cannot tell me, look, if a grown woman actually entered into a fair physical fight with a man where he were allowed to fight back, where you were both on an even playing field and where no holds were barred, would he beat her ass? Yes. But you can't do that. That's not what happens. Men go in restrained. Men go in with their hands tied behind their back while she wallops on him. That's what happens. That's the reality of the situation. When a man enters into that situation where he goes in realizing he's a man and he could actually harm her, he instead has to endure the harm because he's a man. And I'm sorry, but that's sexist. That's incredibly sexist.
Right. And there comes a point of, everybody has that point of vulnerability that we let down our guards for love, right? So we become, both of us, the male and female in the relationship or whatever, you become more vulnerable, you become more open, and all of that. You let down your boundaries when you enter a relationship because you build that trust. And this is where the predator comes in eventually. And because the person opens that trust, and they're vulnerable, they're in that state of, of trust and all that. And, men and women, because we both have that. That's when the predator comes in and starts, testing the waters. What can I get away with? What can I get away with? What can I get away with? And that's what she did. It's not gender specific at all. It's all about just letting down your guard because of trust and being honest with the person, blah, 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 blah. And that's where that comes from. It doesn't matter how soft and nurturing you are, or the protector and strong you are. Everybody has a state of vulnerability when it comes to relationships.
Exactly, because you don't. I'm sorry, Mary.
No, please.
You don't expect for the person who says they love you to abuse you that way. And there's two different ways, of course. With men, the stereotypical thing seems to be physical abuse. But there's women out here who are very emotionally abusive. And it gets even more complicated when they bring the kids into that equation.
Yeah.
It's such a bizarre situation to find ourselves in, where people will automatically, and this is what happens, make no question about it, they automatically sided with Amber Heard just because of her gender, just because of the fact that she was a woman. Never mind the fact that she was emotionally abusing not just Johnny Depp, but like you said, his children. She was abusing his friends. She was abusing her subordinates. She was abusing her coworkers. She was literally abusing just about anybody that she came into contact with, right? But everyone sided with her. The entirety of people sided with her automatically, out of nowhere, right? And they took what she had to say at face value. And I cannot tell you how many people I've seen comment on Twitter running their mouths talking about how Johnny Depp must have been the abuser, because we saw what he said back and forth with his texts between himself and Paul Bettany. Paul Bettany being the voice of Jarvis or Vision from the MCU. That's how you guys would know him. Where he had this conversation back and forth with Paul Bettany, which, if you watched it at all, if you read the tweets or the texts back and forth, keep in mind these were private. These weren't something Amber would have been privy to. People were like, he must have been the abuser because he called her a witch, and they talked about burning her. And I was like, oh my God, you guys are idiots. They're literally referencing Monty Python. They're literally having a joke conversation back and forth about whether or not the witch will float like a piece of wood, because they're making a dark humor joke in reference to Monty Python. But in your ignorance, in your stupidity, and in your desire to jump to the defense of a woman, you looked at something that she would never have been privy to, that she would never have seen, that she would never have even known about, as though it is evidence of abuse, when the man had his finger cut off, when you have audio tapes of her literally admitting to beating him, when you have audio tapes of doctors going, she cut his finger off, where you can tell exactly what has happened. We have audio tapes of her baby talking him and calling him a loser and a fat and washed up. You have these tapes. You can hear the way she speaks to him. But because he had a text message between him and Paul Bettany where they're making a parody joke in reference to Monty Python, he's an abuser automatically. That's how one-sided this is. That's how insane this is. That's nuts to me. Completely
And I like
insane.
what Trace XL says right here. Emotional abuse hurts no matter who you are, and women understand emotions very well. She may not be able to beat you up, but emotionally you'll be bleeding out.
That is so true. I've seen so many cases of that, where the women, of course, they're not physically abusive, but they're emotionally abusive, and they just tear the man just down to the point where he's a complete shell of himself. Bruises can heal, but those emotional games, those head games, that's some serious damage.
Well, and it's an art form. It's an art form. I love that Trace absolutely touched on that's where women excel. We can be physically abusive, and let's not rule that out, but women excel most in finding that thing that hurts you the most, being in tune and in touch with that, because women are generally speaking, this is a generalization, nobody lose their minds out there, but generally speaking, women are in touch with that. Women know you, they know you intimately, and they will look, if a woman is looking to hurt you, that she'll go for that emotional jugular, and she will, and like you said, you'll bleed out before you know it. And we actually have evidence of that. We have testimony to that regard from Dr. Curry, the psychologist who evaluated Amber Heard. She evaluated her, I think, 2 times. She had, I think, it's 18 hours that she spent in the room with her, in addition to countless hours going over external material and previous analysis material, where she came to the conclusion Amber Heard is absolutely she's got BPD, borderline personality disorder, as well as histrionic personality disorder, both of which she was, and she describes that. I have a video here, actually. I found a shortened version of her testimony on YouTube, and I made a few markers on that, or timestamps on the video, where she goes into specific aspects of it. So specifically the traits that we see evidenced in Amber Heard starts at 2:12. The whole video is great, and I would encourage people to go watch it. Just go watch the testimony at all. Honestly, you can get it at Sky News on YouTube. But if we start off here at about 2:10 or so, she literally describes just perfectly what we see from Amber Heard. And I've got that shared in the bottom.
Yeah, I see that. And I'm just going to say thank you so much to Matt G for the $1 super chat. Before I forget, I did star it, but I just want to go ahead and just recognize you for that. Thank you so much. Oops, there we go.
Traits. So externalization of blame, a lot of inner anger and hostility. Sometimes that anger among these groups with similar scores, these people might have that anger kind of explode out at times. They tend to be very passive aggressive. They may be self-indulgent, very self-centered. They could use manipulation tactics to try to get their needs met, very needy of attention, acceptance, approval. They tend to distance people who are close to them. Initially, they may seem very charming. They're very socially sophisticated, actually. That was a major component on there. They have a capacity to kind of offer some of their faults, but in a way, but only the ones that people think of lightly and can all relate to. And so they can present as very fair and balanced, but in actuality, they really might be very judgmental of others and unaware of problems in their behavior and their thinking.
So after you
so those would be like the sort of the ways that you could kind of like, what's the word I'm like, superficially kind of, oh, okay, so this person can be really harsh on others, and they get triggered. Honestly, as I was watching her testimony, I kind of came to the conclusion that all Gen Zers are freaking borderline personality disorder, because they all go off so easily. Like, they lose their mind so quickly and so easily. And then she breaks it down a little further at marker 645, if I can find that. God, it's almost kind of scary, the way that she describes Amber Heard here.
Here is that there's a lot of consistency there. So borderline personality disorder is a disorder of stability. It's instability, and it's instability in personal relationships. It's instability in their emotions. It's instability in their behavior, and it's instability in their sense of self and their identity. And that instability is really driven by this underlying terror of abandonment. So one of the key features also of this disorder, and all of it is like pistons of an engine kind of firing off and igniting one another. But when somebody is afraid of being abandoned by their partner or by anybody else in their environment, and they have this disorder, they'll make desperate attempts to prevent that from happening. And those desperate attempts could be physical aggression, it could be threatening, it could be harming themselves. But these are behaviors that are usually very extreme and very concerning to the people around them. The anger is typically what, sadly, it's counteractive, right? So the thing these people fear most is being abandoned, but over time, the anger, the explosive anger that they show when somebody is needing space, or when somebody's really not doing anything wrong, because a lot of times they read into things that they perceive as being a slight to them, or being somebody intending to harm them that actually isn't happening. They'll exaggerate it, and they'll explode. They'll react in this heightened manner that is just exhausting for their partners. Oftentimes their partners will try to make them happy at first and really allow themselves to be a punching bag, thinking that they can somehow solve this problem, that somehow they can make this better. And eventually it just overwhelms them. Histrionic personality disorder is very—
and they go on. She starts to talk about histrionic personality, but he cuts her off and he moves her to a different topic there. But she was so concise and she was so well spoken about it. We get a, not hyperbolic. I mean, sometimes we get hyperbolic on here, but we tend to get into the loud, descriptive ways of engaging with these topics. So we're not always, I would say, the most concise, reserved, well-spoken one on the panel is Lorena usually. But we generally we get the point across in different ways. This woman went about this in just an incredibly well articulated way, and honestly, not even a finger pointing way, but it was still so blatantly obvious. While she was using this matter of fact language, this very easy to follow, understand language, that you immediately understood how it correlated to the behavior that we have seen out of Amber Heard, and how you could directly draw that parallel from what she's saying to what we've seen. And it's not flowery language that she's using. It's not overly descriptive language. It's just very matter of fact and how it comes across is she's both shredding. This is the most politically correct way to shred someone I've ever seen in my life. It's the most benign shredding I've ever seen in my life. It's perfect.
And her face and everything, it's like so professional, and it's like if it's like you wouldn't even know. You would not even know that you were just given. She was basically shoving it up your ass and saying handle this shit. But my thing is okay. So because like I said, I haven't been getting fully into the trial like you have, Mary. Is there any indication that Amber Heard had any kind of past abuse by parents or whatever, other than maybe because usually it starts as child. Usually you have some underlying childhood trauma or childhood scenarios that happen that sometimes scar you, and then you look for that type of relationship when you get older.
It's really, really interesting that you brought that up because that was actually talked about a bit by Dr. Curry. She went into the diagnosis of PTSD and how people tend to overdiagnose themselves and how easy it is to actually mimic a diagnosis of PTSD, and the control measures that she had to take in regards to her testing of Amber Heard in order to because people aren't, as a general rule, stupid. They can understand the meanings of words, or at least a surface level meaning of a word, and then they can replicate that or imitate that when they go in to try to get a diagnosis of PTSD. And she actually said it's actually fairly easy to get a fake diagnosis of PTSD. But she did find a few places where there were some potential areas of concern when it came to Amber Heard. Ultimately, she said Amber only had 3 points of reference for PTSD, and there's like 20 of them. And so she originally, when Amber Heard said, I have 19 of the 20 symptoms of PTSD, she's like, no one does that. No one has. Even some of the most PTSD people you've ever seen don't have that many.
Wow, like that. Okay, so that kind of comment kind of makes me think, so has she been researching? Like you said, people do research. We have the internet. Like this is like the generation, like these coming generations, they self-diagnose, which makes them turns into like more of like a hypochondriac or not hypochondriac, but basically, is it hypochondriac when it comes to illness? Is that the correct term?
Dude, my big toe itched the other day and I was convinced I had gangrene, right? like everybody goes on the internet and looks at WebMD and concludes they have cancer at some point in their life, right? That's just what we do these days. But there's a more sinister or insidious intent here behind what Amber Heard is doing. She's directly painting herself a victim, and there's actually quite a bit of language by Dr. Curry throughout the course of this testimony that she gives about how Amber Heard deliberately paints herself as both the princess and the victim, and how that is beneficial to her. And it's really wonderful because she uses the appropriate language to describe that and to speak about that on a professional level, but it's still the same thing as what we talk about on a regular basis here when people become victims because it's advantageous for them. But she acknowledges that in a professional capacity, which is really validating and vindicating in a lot of ways, because we know that that's intuitive for us. We understand that, right? But there's a lot of people who would run, well, why would I do that? Well, because victim status grants you a lot of clout. It grants you a lot of attention. Attention seekers tend to do that to make up problems with themselves or for themselves. We saw a good example of that when Amber Heard appropriated the story of one of her assistants who had been raped and described it as a harrowing moment of her life, and Amber Heard took that from her and appropriated that. And so she said, I've only seen 3 examples of potential correlation to PTSD from Amber Heard, and none of them correlate to the time frame that she spent with Johnny Depp. They were all issues that were present prior to, according to the paperwork and the documentation that she reviewed prior to her relationship with Johnny Depp. It was all from a time frame that it was all documented prior to her relationship with Johnny Depp. So none of that could be correlated to him. It could all go back to, as far as she could tell, even as far as her childhood. Some of that was she's trouble sleeping and nightmares, and I don't remember what the third one was, but there were like 3 of them. And she said that could be anything. That could be literally anything. It doesn't necessarily indicate PTSD. It's only 3 of the 20 markers. charges. And whereas
Yeah.
previously she had indicated that she had 19 of the 20, she's like, well, superficially you perhaps could do that, but the testing that she had her take did a better job of indicating in a more unconscious way that Amber Heard wouldn't have necessarily been able to sniff out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So that was
and that's the
interesting
thing.
as
That's
well.
the problem. That's the problem that, like we said, like you stated, if these generations coming up and stuff, or the generations that were more like advanced into technology and internet and stuff, and like Google and stuff like that, is that you see things, you look things up, you to try to say, okay, well, it could be this, it could be that, instead of going to see the professional. Self-diagnosis is like a bad thing going on today, a bad problem. And then you appropriate, like, oh, well, I got PTSD, and then it takes away from those who actually had gone through the events, like some of our military people that have gone through the events that has caused genuine PTSD. Like, for example, like there's someone that that has been in the greater Star Wars community that was saying that she gets PTSD for seeing Adam Driver all the time because he played Kylo, and she doesn't like the Disney trilogy or whatever. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? Are you serious? You're saying you have PTSD because of this guy who has played this character that many people don't care for, or don't care for the lore that he's in right now. So we have that, and it's very dishonest and stuff. And I'm glad that the lady here, what's her name again?
Her name's Dr. Curry.
Okay, Dr. Curry had basically broke it down and said, hey, there's we diagnose this way, there's 20 markers, and when only 3 does not mean that you have that mental disorder.
I don't remember what the exact benchmark was for where you would start entertaining the notion of PTSD, but 3 wasn't it? And it could have been from any number of things. There's one more clip that I have kind of outlined for you, and it's I titled this one "Familiar Tactics" because this is really where it sounds so familiar to some of the shit chicks do. Okay. The shit women do when they're fucking nuts. That's the layman way of putting it. She's going to articulate that way better than I just did. But in layman's terms, she's going to identify the shit crazy chicks do.
Yes. The danger zone behavior.
Right. Exactly.
Danger zone.
It's 10:50.
Highway through the danger zone.
This clip is about a minute long. It's just right at a minute long. But this is you're gonna. I love the way she articulates it. But you're gonna be like, yeah, fucking nuts chicks, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Restrain them from leaving and become injured that way. But also, people with borderline personality disorder, it seems to be a predictive factor for women who implement violence against their partner. And one of the most common tactics that they'll use is actually physically assaulting and then getting harmed themselves. But mostly, we call this administrative violence. So essentially, this is saying that they'll make threats using the legal system. So they might say that they are going to file a restraining order or claim abuse, or they might do these things to essentially try to keep their partner from leaving. In the moment, again, they're not consciously thinking, I'm going to keep my partner from leaving right now. They're just thinking, I can't stand this. I hate my partner. They went from idealizing to suddenly devaluing because of the hurt, and they'll do anything to express that big emotion of anger.
Yeah. That you'll never see your kids again. I will see if they believe you, Johnny. Tell the world, I too, Johnny Depp. And so she tell him in front of a judge and a jury, I dare you, basically daring him to go out and to expose himself to the world, and how stupid and foolish she would make him look. That threat of the destruction of your public visage, how the world views you, or using the legal system to paint you as a villain. It's the same concept as what she did when she gave the interview to the paper, I think it was the Washington Post. I can't remember exactly what it was in Virginia, and then the Sun in UK, right? When they ran those articles on him, it was all based off of what she said. She took it public. She used an external, non-physical threat besides herself to damage him in a far more potent way than she ever could if she'd scratched him with her nails. It's a tactic women use.
And this is the thing too. It's like, okay, so we know that like Hollywood and a lot of like places that have this kind of like woke victimhood kind of thing that we see, you know, like this, I don't know if it's a programming or whatever, but there's like, we see the safe spaces, and, you know, now it's like, I'm a victim of everything of society or whatever they want to go down and stuff. This is what we're seeing with Amber Heard right here, is like, she's trying to turn it around to make it look like she was a victim for her actions, and that's why she acted the way she acted. And I'm glad that, you know, Professor, or, you know, Curry right here is Dr. Curry basically is like breaking shit down, saying, hey, no, you know, just because you feel this way, you went from love to disgust, that doesn't mean that you have a disorder. It just means that now, you know, you're just basically, she fell out of love and she got resentful of him. She still wanted his money. This is how I see it. She still wanted his money, and she used their status and his status and her status as a woman and what's going on in today's society as a woman and equal rights and stuff to demeanor this guy so she could probably possibly still get more from him.
Well, there's a wonderful quote made by Lena Headey as the character of Cersei in Game of Thrones, where all of the women are hiding down during the siege of the capital, where she's down in there with Sansa, and she looks at her and she says, tears aren't a woman's only weapon, but tears are just that. Tears are a weapon for women. And I think that the very big problem that women who act like Amber Heard don't understand, the far-reaching consequences of utilizing the system that was built by civilized men, because make no mistake, women civilized men. Okay, absolutely. Women civilized men have to be civilized in order to get women, because that's how our civilized society functions. But when you utilize the tools of civilization to destroy men, you take away a great deal of the incentive for them to be civilized. Do you want men to act like barbarians? Do you want them to be out of control, barbaric monsters that club you over the head and drag you back to the cave? No, then stop taking away the tools that we set up to run a civilized society. Stop doing that. You want them to have a reason to continue functioning. Otherwise, they might as well just run around killing each other. You want Lord of the Flies? Because this is how you get Lord of the Flies. You need to give people a reason to continue to function within a civilized society. Because if the justice system doesn't work, because it favors the tears of women, if society views men as nothing more than brutes to be beat down, eventually those men will get enough and fight back. And they will do so with the only recourse available to them: their fucking fists. That's not what you want. That's not what you want. Women want, I agree that women it's in our biology.
Right.
Women want a man savage enough to protect them, but civilized enough to be gentle with them. That's what women want. Women want a man who will beat the world up for them and keep them safe inside their walls. That's what women want. We want that. We want him to be savage enough to us to remind us that he's a man, because we understand that all of this around us, every bit of this civilization, is dependent on men accepting it. It's dependent on men giving it the rubber stamp of approval. Yeah, that is, it's completely because if it all falls down, if all of the men in the world decided tomorrow they'd had enough of this civilization shit and decided to go back to the caveman days where they could live out their life normally and not have to deal with all of this external pressure and being browbeaten, that it's just no longer advantageous for them. Trust me, there's not a damn thing women could do about it. Not shit. Our power relies on men allowing us to have it in a civilized society. If you go back to basics, that's where we're at. And I'm sorry, I know that may seem really like we've got a long way to regress to get back to there. Yes, but only because men allow that to be the case. Only because at the end of the day, men don't beat the hell out of everybody. And the biggest, strongest man will win. At the end of the day, might makes right. And that's just how it is. That's my thing with toxic. Like whenever they say, oh yeah, F toxic masculinity, and or whatever, I'm like, okay, first of all, like the word toxic is specific to gender, right? It's how a person acts, whether you're male or female. But now we also have, them demeanoring, masculinity to make
the femininity rise, right? The female rise because of equality, right? But then you also forget, we also forget that, now there's this like big old huge rise of like the LGBT community. I'm not trying to say this in a bad way. I'm just saying that it's so polarized right now in front of us that we're also now adding different other letters, extended off to that. And so now everybody's confused about how men and women should act with each other, because you have the binary, you have the non-binary, you have the fluid, you have the trans, and all this other stuff. So how does someone expect to act now to have this beautiful relationship to where if you act like a lady, then the man will act like a gentleman, when now like society's being confused on which way they should act when it comes to gender?
Well, make no mistake, women don't want those effeminate men, and that's all they are. They're
Right.
not
Mhm.
gender fluid. They're not non-binary. They're not.
Right.
They are just effeminate men. That's all they are. At the end
Mhm.
of the day, they are effeminate men who, if it came down to it, would be beat back and shoved down and shoved into lockers, and at the end of the day, they are only allowed to continue being the effeminate men that they are, because they're allowed to by civilized badass men. Yes, I know where MGTOW came from, and it's hard to blame them. And look, I'm not I haven't internalized misogyny. I'm just a realist. Okay. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Sorry, sometimes she gets on a coughing spree and I just have to mute out. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right.
You want to read this, Mary, right here? So this is from Matt G, $2 super chat.
Like, oh my God, Mary, Amber definitely has RSVP. Like, what?
Thank you so much for the super chat. And that's where I see this, like we have this huge confusion of like, and this goes into like, like you said, like the third wave feminist activists here, still pushing for equality. And we've talked about this and we beat this on this dead horse many times before. But, the thing is like, the women want this equality, but they're also tearing down the men. And now the future generations don't know how to act and don't know how to, receive that act of kindness back from men. And when it's received back from men by simply opening the door for us.
Don't get me started on that.
Right?
And
No,
it's
please.
and it's interesting because not too long ago I was like out and I was about to go in the store, and this young man, he was like 12 or something like that, opened the door for me. And I was, thank you so very much, young man. I so do appreciate that, And then I looked at his mom like, you raised him right. It's like, I don't care who you are. You open the door. I'll say, especially in the South, that's expected.
Right.
That you open the
Oh, yeah.
door for a woman. If you don't, people will look at you like, what the heck is your problem?
Oh, yeah.
Why don't
Mhm.
why didn't you do that? And then you have these women who are just like, well, I don't need you to open the door for me. It's not about needing
Yeah,
to
it's
open
about
the door.
maintaining civilization.
Exactly. It's a
Mhm.
civil courtesy, that is done. So
Yeah.
it's just aggravating to me when I hear that, and I hear, women say that. Like, I think it was in one elevator once when I was at Disney. I was going up to a restaurant and the cast member said, okay, honey, well, you guys can just go up to the the top floor, and the door closed. And this girl's like, did you hear what he said? I said, honey, there are worse things to be called.
Mhm.
It
Oh,
was
yeah.
ridiculous.
This insane notion that these psychotic feminists push forward, that men who open doors for you don't respect you. Sweetheart, you have that completely backwards.
Right.
Exactly 180 degrees in the wrong direction. It is because he respects you. It is because he values you. It is because he knows your worth. It is because he is aware of what you bring to the table, how necessary you are as a woman. And it is because it is important for men to protect that, because trust me, we absolutely, at the end of the day, we need men to protect us. We are not capable physically of getting into a fair fight with a man the way Amber Heard. Oh, you say Johnny Depp, a man, entered into a fair fight. No, sweetheart, he didn't enter into a fair fight with you. He held himself back, because if you got into a fair fight with Johnny Depp, if you entered into a fair fight with Johnny Depp, where civilization didn't tie his hands behind his back, your ass would be grass, as we say in the South. So no, it is because he respects you, because he values you, that he opens that door, because it is a man's way of reminding not just you that you're valued, but himself what he must do to maintain your status is important.
Yeah. And this stretches out not just like just general, like it just stretches out through the cultures here. Like no matter what culture, race, or whatever, or that you're from, like if you look back in the history of man and like tribes and stuff like that, and I'm going to use mine as an example because I can reference that better. Like even today when we go to powwows, when we dance a certain way in certain regions of the United States and Canada, the men will dance counterclockwise on the outside of the circle, within the circle. And that's to protect women, and women will dance on the inside clockwise when we're like in a gathering and stuff. The reason why the men's on the outside is that's a form of protection. When we have grand entry, men and the warriors come in first. We have the veterans, the warriors, the seasoned people come in first. They're always leading first because the utmost thing is that they go out to scan, to, track or whatever to protect the people that need them to be, protected, need to protect, like the elders, the women, the children kind of deal. And that's always been some kind of societal, preference, or not preference, but like stance, I guess you can say, on making sure your people survive. It's like the men step up, they protect, no matter what they're like, no matter if they're warrior or not, they're the ones responsible, and they take and raise the kids that way. And my family kind of mimicked that a little bit in the sense where, once my son became of age, he started, going towards with the men and started learning all the manly stuff that he needs to learn, like traditional wise and non, and so on and so forth. And the girls would go to the mother and her family to learn what she's responsible for. And that's just to have everybody function. And it brings respect and balance between the genders. And we're so detached from that these days that it's now confusing, and kids don't know how to act upon it. And the younger generation think it's an insult when a guy helps them say, let me carry that, looks heavy for you. Let me open that door, whatever. They're confused now because society's telling them something different. So
yeah, because it's not politically correct to it's bizarre how it makes people uncomfortable to say something true. Right? How you're not allowed to say it out loud anymore. That women rely on the civilization, the decency, the chivalry of men, that we rely on that. You're not allowed to say that out loud anymore because it might undermine the strength of women, right? And that's the narrative. And it's what blows my mind and what frustrates me is that they act as though women's strength must be exactly comparable to men's strength in order to be valid strength. They act as though the strength that women carry in other ways, the phenomenal superhero-esque qualities that we exhibit when we give birth to a child, is somehow not as valid because we can't punch a horse in the face and knock it out, right? They undermine the genuine abilities of women, the strengths, the qualities, the attributes of women as somehow not as valid because they're not male attributes. Women must be just like a man in order to be valid, but that's absurd. And it removes femininity from the equation. Why are women so determined to remove valid feminine traits from the equation? You undermine yourself. You undermine your own being in that process. You are worthy. You are a woman. You are valid. You are important. And men knew that. At one point, men knew that because they held open doors for you, because they made a path for you, because they made sure that what you couldn't do for yourself, they enabled and they took care of because they needed you, because they need you as women. Because we are worthwhile and necessary to this whole thing. And that's not to say that men aren't necessary. We're just different. We're just different. But we're both so necessary. And we complement each other in this beautiful, wonderful way. But society somewhere along the way got it twisted. That because that equality meant equity. And it's not the same thing, guys. It's not. Women are valid, and stop treating women like we're invalid if we're not masculine. That's so disturbing. It's so disturbing.
Right. Right. Yeah, and so I think this is like this case is more than just like, what she did with to Johnny Depp, and that, men can be abused, like go through abuse, whether it's verbal or physical or what have you, or a combination of both. But it's also helping people realize like, okay, so and it's given us a great look at what's really going on with today's society when it comes to men and female relationships, and our relationships in general. And so it's really polarizing that, like, are we on the right track? Are we regressing or whatever? And I think it's, something that we all need to pay attention to and see what happens with it, with what becomes of this, because no matter who they are, I know they're of course, actors, stars or whatever. So they're, out there in the light and in front of everybody, but still for them to come out here and go through this trial and everything being revealed, it gives us a greater look on where the direction society is going. And so I preach this to parents these days, teach your boys to still be soft and still protect, because you could still be strong and have softness, just like women. They can still be soft and have some strength, and learning how to balance that with each other. And that's what I teach in yoga. Like, when I teach yoga and I do asana and teach you to hold a pose, I'm like, you're going to hold the pose strong, but allow softness and that strength. And I think that's what society needs, is learn there's still strength and softness, and there's still softness and strength, and how you interact with each other, like holding doors, for example, since we've been using that for men holding doors for women. That shares that you're still strong enough, but sensitive enough or soft enough to hold that door, to give of yourself to someone that you don't know.
I love Alora's sweet, gentle, soft approach. Like, yes, women, you like, it's very, and it's not untrue. And I'm just sitting over here like, fuck around and find out. I'm just saying, like, that's like, you're like, come on, women, you're valid too, you're good. Well, and you know what I mean? Like, you're like trying to, like, you can prove your worth and your strength and your validity in certain ways. And you can, and I'm just sitting over here like, keep fucking women and find out. I'm just saying, it's only a matter of, I'm just like, I'm over here with my arms crossed with my teeth.
Just in the middle. It depends on what's going on. It's like,
right,
if I like you, I'll be soft about it. If not, F around and find out.
Yeah, and that's all energy. You're going to give out the energy that's returned. So if someone's total dick to you and basically doesn't open that door, closes on you as you're coming through, then yeah, there's going to be where that karma's going to be returned that way.
Go back to that thing about, and the term gentle man. Exactly. That's what you want. It's like, it's granted, it's not PC, but I'm not like that. So I'll say it anyway. Women want men who are strong enough to be men, but secure enough in themselves to be gentle, especially when it comes to women, especially when it comes to the elderly, especially when it comes to children, and especially when it comes to service personnel.
Right.
Okay. Because if you've ever been out, and you're out on a date with a guy and he's a total asshole to the server, it's like, imagine when he's like that towards his mother.
Right. It's revealing, right? It's revealing. It's like how you treat other women is basically, how you treated your mother or your grandmother or whatever in a dire time, or even in a time of like, you need to be soft and stuff. So it's really, really revealing. And that goes with women too. How the woman responds also shares how. And,
I think that piggybacks or works off of an intuitive knowledge about that genuinely worked since time immemorial up until recently. That women intuitively knew that a man who unprovoked exerted himself physically over a woman was no man at all. A man who felt the need to physically exert himself over a woman without her straight up being psycho, borderline personality disorder like Amber Heard. If you're just talking about your standard basic woman who's just doing her thing, and she has a disagreement with a man, right? And maybe she's talking with him, maybe she's arguing with him, maybe she even yelled, and he escalated it to that physical in order to shut her down. If he had to exert to the physical aspect, he was no man at all. Any man who, but we've gotten to a point where that intuitive knowledge has now been turned around on men. Right. And we say now there's no reason to put your hands on them. Well, no, that's not true. It's not that there's no, and I'm not condoning violence. I'm not. but what I'm saying is that it's not that there's no reason to put your hands on a woman. It's that women up until recently knew better than to give men a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And we have become so delusional about our place. And I'm not saying that it's not an important, valid, just as equal as men place, but we've become delusioned about our ability to tango with men in that arena. And so we, in many instances, provoke it. And a man stands there. And because of that, up until just very recently, that intuitive knowledge that any man that had to exert himself physically over a woman was no man at all, they stand there and take it. And they allow themselves to be mistreated in the same way that Johnny Depp allowed himself to be mistreated by Amber Heard. And so that's where my fuck around and find out comes from women, because it will only go on for so long before men get to a point where fine, you fucked around and found out.
Yeah.
You cannot allow yourselves to become delusional. We as women should not live in a fantasy land. It's not that we are unimportant, but that we should not equate ourselves to the physical strength of men, because 9 out of 10 women can't take on 9 out of 10 men. You have that one, you know what I mean? You have that occasional woman who could break a man in half. Sure, Gina Carano's are out there, but they're few and far between.
Yeah.
So, like, as women, we were the caretakers of that ideology, that understanding that men were not men at all. We never betrayed that. You weren't meant to betray that as women. You didn't abuse it. You understood that you were set on a pedestal as a woman, because it was understood that you needed to be on a pedestal as a woman, because you were, in a sense, fragile. In certain ways, not that women are fragile, but that in contrast to men, we certainly were. And so it was a power. It was almost like a superpower was handed to women. Yes, women were on a pedestal since civilization took hold, right?
Yeah.
Where we were treated a certain way, and we've been abusing that. We've been abusing that.
And I like what Trey says right here. Women being soft, kind, and nurturing is strength. Men crave the peace a woman can bring far more than they do her body. And so he's like sitting there like he's like totally in tune with what we're trying to say here. And then I have to laugh at the reluctant dragon. I wouldn't suggest anyone miss with OG Stars. She's a Marine mom. Yes, I am. So yes, and then so everybody's vibing with that and what we've been saying and stuff. And like I said, it's this case is very polarizing on so many levels, And I'm scanning the chat, and I know you guys are laughing at some things going on in there.
Oh, the chat's great. I love you guys. Hey, we got 25 of you all watching. Hey, please hit that like button if you haven't already. Make sure you subscribe to Laura. She's got a lot of wonderful content. Yes. And we come over here once a month and we do Babedom Menace here. So
yes, exactly. And it's always much fun and stuff. So are we concluding this talk about Miss Amber Turd and what's going on with her so-called mental disorder?
I think we've discussed it pretty in depth.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
And we've done what Babedom Menace is really good at, which is coming at it from that female perspective. Not that there's only one female perspective, but females as a general rule. We know what we mean. We got a typical angle that we come from. So.
Yes, exactly. And so, what's this about the Project Veritas leaks audio? Because I totally missed on that one there.
On that.
Yeah, I totally missed on that one. Like, totally, you're like, you shared it with us, and I'm like, what did I miss?
So, Project Veritas got moles everywhere.
Oh yeah, they are notorious. They've got like a tip line where they're just like, contact us if you see something, and they get some crazy scoops.
Well, and it's encouraging because it's easy to think when it comes to Twitter discussion, because of just the hyperbolic nature of Twitter, when it comes to its left-leaning philosophy and how altogether they will shut a person down, shut conversation, a suspended account, completely get rid of an account. They will absolutely just mash it down. They do not tolerate a right-leaning fake news, as they call it, or misinformation, right? Regardless of whether or not that information is true. Twitter is left-leaning, and it's easy to think, based off of what we see on a day in, day out basis from Twitter and how they mess with algorithms. We see things like when Amber hashtag Amber Turd, or Amber Heard is an abuser, was trending. When you typed in hashtag Amber Heard is, the first option was innocent, even though hashtag Amber Heard is an abuser was what was trending, right? So Twitter goes to extremes sometimes to really go out of its way to shift that narrative. So it's tempting to assume that there are no people working at Twitter on our side, or who have a different perspective. But that's clearly not true, because this all hands on meeting took place on the 25th, I believe it was, and they sent in their questions, and trust me, those questions are every bit what you thought they were. They were every bit as representative of the left-leaning talking points that you see on Twitter. Is Trump gonna come back? What about the mass exodus, considering Elon Musk's questionable ethics? There were tons of questions to that effect, and Parag's answers were nothing burgers all the way through. He really didn't have answers for these questions, but a lot of the questions that were posed at this meeting were those left-leaning questions. But there are people clearly working into it, because the only people who had access to this were Twitter employees.
Yeah,
that's it. People who work at Twitter, and somebody sent this to Project Veritas. You had to be there. Which means there's more there than you think, or than you might necessarily give weight to. So I've got a couple of things quoted, and the whole video is roughly 45 minutes long.
Okay.
Let me pull it up. So obviously we can't go through the whole thing, but a lot of it is, let me see if I've got it actually here at a timestamp. If I can back it up a little bit, I might be able to share that for you. This one is particularly interesting, and I think that you'll really like it. It's in regards to the free speech question.
Oh my God. That has been totally crazy. Like, I've been busy the last few days, and then also just caring for my body and stuff like that. So sometimes I tune out, and I just like, why mess on social media when I'm trying to remain positive in my body and stuff, but then when I go on to Twitter, and it's like this free speech meltdown, I'm like, people are like, we don't want free speech on Twitter kind of deal. I'm like, what the hell? Okay, why?
Well, the big debate around free speech on Twitter was regarding a private company, right? Whether or not a private company needed to subject itself to the laws of the land, as it were. And so a lot of people came at it like, well, Twitter and Google can't violate First Amendment rights, because those are private companies to which the First Amendment doesn't apply. But then those same people turned around and start talking about how if everybody leaves Twitter, where else were they going to go to post their messages that will reach millions of people besides Twitter? And that the free market reflects the demands of big money, right? And so we'll pick a language, right? Pick a freaking narrative. Does free speech not apply to Twitter and Facebook because they're private companies owned by people outside of that government aspect? Or do we acknowledge that it's the town square and free speech needs to apply there? Pick a narrative.
Yeah, and that's the sad thing about that, is that it's like they will use it to benefit them until it doesn't, and that's another polarizing thing. And Christine, thank you so much for becoming a channel member. Thank you. I appreciate the support. And then Matt G, $5 super chat. Mary is right. Women want a physically strong man. Reality. Men with physical issues will never get women. It varies. Like, everybody has a varying all three of us may have a common factor of like what we want for a men, but then there will be also other traits that we may not agree with or whatever of men.
Well, look, I'll give you an
It's
example
varying.
just to reference that. Women, exactly what Alora said, women have a wide spectrum of what they deem as masculine. My ex-husband was 5'7". He was an incredibly short guy, but he had a masculine demeanor. He was in the army, and he and look, for all of the faults that the guy had, he was a good provider, and he handled his business as a man, despite the fact that if you looked at him, if you just looked at the guy when he was in jeans and a t-shirt, you wouldn't have guessed that he was an army engineer. You know, he had to really kind of take his shirt off for you to get a physical assessment of the guy. And so don't assume that all women are going to run for this big jacked, you know, freaking Henry Cavill looking guy. We're not, you know, it's not like that. It's not like that.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a big spectrum. I've always said I don't think I really have a type. I just, you know, can I sit down and play, you know, freaking Mario Kart with you? So
Yeah.
that's my real qualifier.
I'm so shallow. I tell people anything over 6'3" is definitely for me. So it's not to say that I don't look at shorter guys, but that's usually, hey, how you doing? You know, just
Yeah,
these
how you
first shorter
doing?
ones, they just kind of have to work, you know, a little.
Well,
a
it
little
helps
bit.
that I'm 5'4". So
Yeah.
like
I
when
think
it
I'm the
comes to height,
shortest. I'm 5
Yeah.
Okay,
foot.
because I'm 5'7". So.
Okay. All right. That makes sense then. You're like, I need a man taller than me. Me, I have no issue with that, but still.
I want to wear my 4-inch heels, okay? I just
Exactly.
And not tower over them.
no.
Let me go ahead and play this Project Veritas
Okay.
audio. There's a lot of questions like this. Some of them are about Trump and whether or not he's coming back. And they're like, I don't know. That's a question for Elon Musk.
Yeah.
I love this right here. Let's see. I think
What's in our filings?
this should send us right into the next one.
Question for you, Prague. Is there an updated understanding on what free speech means that we're aware of?
I think we all understand what free speech means. I don't think it's about an updated understanding of that. It's been a concept that's existed for a while. But I think I'm going to try to read the question behind the question here, which is where might Twitter's product go as a private company in the future once this deal closes? I think that's a great question.
So he literally, without saying it, acknowledges Twitter doesn't apply free speech to its model right now. How is it going to change? He's literally saying, we all know what free speech is, but that's not the model of our company. So how is that going to change moving forward? And he has a nothing burger of an answer here.
To best gain perspective on this, as I said earlier, we'll find ways to bring Elon for a Q&A with all of you. Me, a lot of your leadership team will spend time with Elon to understand better what his vision for the future of Twitter might look like, and have a two-way dialogue where we inform and educate him on the work we have done and the things we have learned along the way.
Wow.
And understand what his ambitions and aspirations might be to see how we can best collaborate.
Good luck.
God, it's killing him.
Oh my God. Wow.
Oh.
He sat there talking about how I'm going to try to educate Elon Musk. Sit down, Parag.
Tap dancing. Oh my God. This is like the meeting. And I've been in meetings like this, like when the company gets bought by another company and then you get that, okay, we're having this meeting, you know, to calm everybody before you freak out. And they kind of do the tap dance, like, please remain calm, you know, and answer the question with another question, you know, because there's only so much that they can legally say. So it's just hilarious when they do crap like this.
Well, and it's absurd. The questions that get posed all throughout this are questions that are only left wings, only fragile little liberals. What about free speech? What are we gonna do?
And damn it, I can't go in there and mess with the code because they locked it down.
stupid questions. I did hear one particularly stupid question about like, well, we're only getting $54 a share here. Did they is this really for the betterment of the shareholders? They actually had to respond. They literally said, and this is actually in the article here, and I appreciate that Breitbart highlighted this, that way I don't have to get a timestamp for it. Acknowledged it's important that all of you have different feelings about it. Hold on, where's the one that he said specifically about how they were obligated to perform for their shareholders, and how they were obligated by the law to make decisions that were in the best interest of their shareholders. Here it is. By law, we are required to act in the best interest of our shareholders. And literally in the meeting, they had employees posing questions of, how is this in the best interest of the shareholders if they're only going to get $54? Because Twitter's on a downward trend, you retard. Because they're losing money. Because Twitter has been faltering in how much he made an offer that was drastically
like 30% over what the asking price was.
And you got an idiot in the meeting going, but it's only $54. Sit down. Do you want to? Where's your soy latte at? Go. Do you want a sippy mug?
He's the one that raised the stock too while he started making these negotiations and stuff.
Yes.
So, I mean, seriously. So these people are like saying, "Oh, it's nothing," and blah blah blah. They don't have any like education in financing and stock, and trade and all that, and so they just need to take a seat.
Well, and they truly don't understand that when they made these decisions, they based them on, they took into account the current value of the company, but also the uncertainty in the future, because it is on a downward trend. They were not ever going to get a better offer than this. They had, by law, they had to make a decision that was based on the best interest of their shareholders, and they were never going to get a better offer than this, considering the way that Twitter's been moving. It was just not going to happen. It wasn't a thing. It wasn't ever going to happen. They also touched a little bit on how wonderful it was that Twitter is free. That Twitter is free for everyone to use, and they touched on it. It's so amazing that we can make Twitter free because of ads. What the quiet they didn't say the quiet part out loud. You aren't Twitter customers. All of you people on Twitter, you are not customers. You're the product. You are the thing they are selling to ad space. That's why they don't care about you. It's why they have no problem with banning you from the platform. Maybe Twitter won't be free when Elon takes over. I don't know. I don't know exactly what the guy has in mind. Yeah. But I would rather pay, I don't know, $5 a month for the service of Twitter to have access to the international digital town square than be a product that is absolutely dispensable for Twitter. For me to stop being treated like something that can be thrown in the garbage can as a human being. I don't like being the product. I don't like that. I don't like being the thing sold. My time spent looking at an ad that they promote is not something I want on the table. I don't appreciate it because it reduces me as a human being to being worth no more than the couple of cents that I gain in revenue. That's it. That's what it reduces me to. That's why Twitter doesn't give a crap about, and make no mistake, Twitter's doing some crazy stuff right now. If you've seen the ebb and flows on Twitter, people are losing. Mark Hamill lost 8,000 Twitter followers.
I was going to share that.
It's crazy.
Wow.
And you know what? And I'm sorry, this just shows the quality of your followers and the quality of the stance or type of stance that you take. Because I've been noticing like people were responding to him and they're like, oh, we lost, 100, 500,000, and you lost 8,000. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, so these people are probably bots, and these people are probably most likely, have the same ideology, ideas as you, and they basically got off of Twitter like they said they would, whatever. So we'll see how this goes within the next couple of days on what really happens, because we also have people getting their Twitters, brought back too as well. So that were banned and suspended and stuff. So we're seeing that as well.
Andrew got his account back.
Right. And the thing is too, is like, it's only for those countries, if you haven't noticed, it's only for those countries that allow free speech.
See, I haven't looked into it. Well, my assumption was, and again, I could be wrong. I don't have clear data points on all of this I didn't sit there and watch 2.5 hours of testimony like I did with the Amber Heard stuff. I won't pretend to have done as deep a dive into why followers, but a lot of the discussion around it. I'm so sorry about that. A lot of the discussion around, sorry, Mom, can you? Sorry about that. A lot of the discussion around it is that this has to do with a bot purge. Twitter is making itself presentable for its new owner.
Right.
And so in order to validate that price and that value that Elon Musk is paying for it, in order to present to him, it's like cleaning out your car before you take pictures of it to put it on the marketplace, right? You're going to vacuum it. You're going to shampoo the rugs. You're going to scrub the tires and the wheels down. You're going to make it its most presentable before setting it up for that. And make no mistake, the deal hasn't gone through yet. It's not closed. And we have some deal of time before that becomes the case, which is why there's so much uncertainty in the air right now when it comes to Twitter and what's going on. Right. Why doesn't Parag have any answers? He had this all hands on meeting, which honestly I think was a stupid thing to do, because you don't have any answers for these people. Some of his answers boil down to nothing burgers. The guy does not have information to give them. This was a pat on the head. This was like a there, everyone. Everything's going to be okay. Nobody panic. It's all right. Even though he had no answers to give them. Nothing to say. This was to assuage the masses in the buildings. Guys, we've got months before this will take over. But yes, we're seeing bots purged. If you're seeing yourself lose followers on Twitter right now, that's because there are legitimate bots. And so when Elon Musk goes in and he begins to engage in some of the activity that he's been talking about, talking about removing bots, valid or authenticating or verifying humans, right? They want to make sure that process is as non-messy as possible, right? Well, so you didn't have that much work to do. He's not fixing everything. We already did that. We were great at Twitter. It validates the market value that he's spending for it, and it also it informs a narrative that they were doing a good job at Twitter in the first place. So they can when they have to step away or when they remove themselves from it, they can say, "Oh, well, we were doing a pretty good job at Twitter. We really were."
Right. Yeah.
So,
and then Soul Assassin says the final reen.
Oh my God, the memes are just
They're so good.
They are.
Oh my God, they are so good.
I've got one I'm particularly proud of. Can I share it?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's
I'm really proud of this.
Okay.
I didn't come up with this. I tripped across this online. I don't know where I found it. I probably should have given like credit to what, but I don't remember where I found it. So I tripped across this online. So I tweeted this out for all the fragile people who are screaming they're going to leave Twitter. I have this for you, Saint Felicia. Patron Saint
there we go.
Oh my God, that's one of my favorites.
I've seen that in the public citizens Twitter after they got mad at Elon for blocking them.
We should show that one though. I think you found that right.
I have it prepped up right here, so let me bring that on. Let me see here. But I've seen that, and I was like, "What a great way to present that!" Because it's also the image. It's a black person and all that. So there's so much.
The memes about him being South African. He's a real African American.
Yes.
I loved
Why
that.
are you
so
upset? A real African American, bought this company.
Yeah, they're like white supremacist here and blah blah blah. And he's like,
Oh
no, I'm
my
African
God.
American. I'm
South
from
African, right?
Africa.
Yeah, but you got oh my gosh, you got oh god, was it Sean? No, yeah, Sean King, aka Talcum X, aka the whitest black man you know,
White.
saying that Elon Musk is a white supremacist.
Like pot meat kettle. Okay, come on now.
Exactly. Oh my
And then we
god.
have the public citizen here, and we all know, this Elon's stance is like, free speech. We shouldn't, people should be heard no matter if you have different opinions. Blah 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 blah. And so we have this here, they said, FYI, we're blocked by Elon Musk. So much for being committed, quote unquote, committed to free speech. And I don't think they got the idea about this because free speech is you're allowed to speak, right? You're allowed to post what you need to post or whatever. But the person also has the freedom of saying, I don't want to listen to this shit.
Well, it's really indicative of the fundamental misunderstanding, right? That's taking place in our country. It's one of the reasons why people are so upset that their children are learning gender theory and critical race theory in school, as opposed to understanding the fundamental tenets of their rights as an American, is because they don't understand what free speech even means. They can't even use it in a conversation. They can't use it in a sentence. They don't understand it. They have no real comprehension of it. They're sitting here crying about how Elon Musk blocked them and that has somehow infringed their free speech. You tell me you don't understand free speech without telling me you don't understand free speech.
Right.
So that's hilarious to me. Free speech is about being able to say whatever you want without don't run into a theater and yell fire, obviously, because people might trample one another. But to say whatever you want, whenever you want, wherever you want, without misconstruing some hyperbolic, unreasonable potential catastrophe could be a result of what you say, right? Like within reason of not misconstruing that potential catastrophe. Like, don't say something will cause, it will cause actual death and pain and destruction. But if you walk into a room and you open your mouth and you speak, you can do that with impunity, with freedom to say whatever you choose to come from your mouth. No one's going to put a ball gag on you. That does not mean we have to stand there and listen to you and nom on some popcorn while you do it. We can go into a different room. We're not required to sit there. It means not putting a ball gag on you. That's what it means. But that's exactly what Twitter has done to so many people. They've completely silenced them.
And it's so sad how people just allow that to happen. It's like, gag me harder, Twitter, kind of deal. This person here, Judith, whatever, suggestions for an alternate to Twitter and Facebook. So people are starting to be afraid, starting to worry that that they can no longer be gagged anymore. That's how I see that. I'm sorry, I had to say it the way I did. So we have all these comments in here about free speech. Someone says he's blocked himself from listening to you rather than block everyone else from listening. It's a very good example of someone in power with a commitment to free speech behaving responsibly.
Absolutely. Yep. They probably had an aneurysm trying to comprehend what you just said.
Right, they did. They probably did, because they took the ball gag out of the mouth. Now they got so used to it. And they don't know what to do because they don't know how to speak anymore. They don't know how to, talk. And whatever happened to sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you.
Well, the thing that people don't comprehend is that words, generally speaking, only have as much power as you give them. And so if you are being hurt by the words coming out of someone else's mouth, at least to a reasonable extent, that comes down to what you are, particularly sensitive to. And that's something that you can desensitize yourself to over time, as long as you become aware of it, cognizant, and make efforts to desensitize yourself.
Right.
And I'm not saying that we should, look, there's a difference between what we can do and what we should do. All things should be permissible, that does not mean that we should engage in all things. I think drugs should be decriminalized, all of them. As a libertarian, does that mean I want to go out and do meth? No, I like teeth. I want to have them tomorrow. So there's a difference, and that nuance is something that is lost on so many people. It's a really bizarre situation to find myself among folks that are incapable of comprehending that nuance. How did we get here? I know, because they're teaching gender theory in third grade, and that's instead of our inalienable rights.
Right.
That's
right.
really frustrating that people are that incapable of critical thought.
And this person right here, I've seen them on these streams or on these on Twitter commenting or whatever, but they keep on going like blocking somebody is violating the rights to speech in a very strict sense and is also not the solution. And they fail to realize is you're the person who's doing the blocking, whatever the circumstance is mean they just don't want to see your shit anymore, but they're not stopping you from saying whatever crappy ass take you're going to take. You're going to do. You're not being suspended, you're not being banned or what have you. They're just not wanting to see your shit. And we all have that right. We've been saying you have the right to speak, and we also have the right to choose to listen or not.
Well, and on that very same tweet, because I interacted on that tweet as well, the same guy goes on to say, kudos to the hundreds of people who missed the fucking point. It's a satire on free speech absolutism. There's literally no difference between everybody on Twitter blocking me and my account being suspended. The effect is the exact same. And I responded, I said, there's a huge difference between someone not staying in the room to listen to some bullshit and putting a gag on their mouth so they can't speak at all. People should be able to say whatever they want. Whether people listen is another matter altogether. And they conflated being blocked by Elon Musk to being blocked by everyone in the world. They had to take that hyperbolic stance as free speech absolutism. Well, if everyone blocks me, but that doesn't mean you can't say it. You can still say it. If someone wants to enter the room at any point, they can, and no one will stop them. That comes down to personal choice, and everyone is allowed to make that as an independent person. We're no longer sticking people in these giant groups, these umbrella definitions, and saying, well, you're this color, so you go over here and you have to believe these things, and you have this between your legs, so you should go over here and you have to believe these things. And people are allowed to operate with autonomy and to be able to think for themselves and do for themselves and expose themselves to all sorts of ideas and sort out what they think is worthwhile and keep this and throw that away. That's responsible speech. That's how you get responsible speech. That's how you interact with speech responsibly, not shutting it down, but listening to all of it and figuring out what's worthwhile and what isn't.
But that's the problem here. It's like modern times, people are shit, now I can't even talk. Putting people in certain groups here so that you can relate to only who you want to relate to or like who you're familiar with. But instead of having people come together and learning about each other, learning that we have differences and learning that we can still get along, learning because of those differences, and also learning that we may not agree all the time. We can agree to disagree. We may not have to listen to it, whatever. So they're compartmentalizing. There you go. That's the word I was trying to find. Everybody, whether it's race, gender, what you want to say, what you should say, and all that other stuff, whether you should block or not, it's all being compartmentalized, and it's basically a type of segregation.
Yeah, well, and they have to compartmentalize, they have to segregate, and they have to be hyperbolic, because otherwise their points don't make any sense. If I can't stick you in this corner and force you to listen to this very narrow aspect, then you might not agree with me, and then I might not be right. And I got news for these people. If you have to do that in order to be right, you're not right. If you have to section everything off so completely and be hyperbolic and to pretend that, well, if everybody blocks, well, everybody didn't block you. Everybody hasn't even heard you. You have any idea how many people are in Twitter? No, everybody didn't block you. You're stupid, and it's a stupid thing to assert, and it's a stupid thing to claim, but this person did it anyway. That's how we know not to listen to him, because there's some stupid shit that fell out of his mouth, and he went blah, 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 and he vomited up some really stupid stuff, And everybody who heard him went, well, that's dumb, and then said bye. But you weren't blocked by those people. You just outed yourself as being a moron. We didn't need you to be silenced for us to figure that out. And if you think that people should have to be silenced in order for you to be listened to, then you're the Nazi, not me.
Right. Yeah. And it's like I said, it's very polarizing too. It's like there's a lot of polarization going on right now in the world. And this poor guy, this Hawkins guy, he is acting as if Twitter is life, like real life. Like you know the saying that says that they usually tell us like who it's like Disney, Star Wars with what we don't like, what's going on with it and stuff. And they're like, go outside and touch grass. Well, I'll offer you the same advice, darling. Go outside and touch some grass. Go communicate with your family and your friends and get off of Twitter. It's a means of communicating between people you know, or maybe you not know, may have similar ideas as you, but it doesn't mean that it's not a tool to stop you from stopping free speech to happen, because if that's the case, then we wouldn't be on social media at all. And that's the point that they forget, is like, if without the freedom of speech, without 1A, we wouldn't be here talking right now.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't have you guys as friends. I wouldn't have met you guys over social media from YouTube and stuff, and created, this wonderful group, Babedom Menace, here without that. And, so this person needs to sit back and think, exactly, reevaluate what this free speech means and how is it detrimental to saying, like, going against free speech? Because, the government and those against it are slowly chiseling away the rights. And that goes with the A2, or the Second Amendment. They're slowly chiseling the rights that we have.
Yeah. Well, and look, it's not that we shouldn't keep a critical eye on Elon Musk. He's still a billionaire. And I'm not saying all billionaires are bad inherently. That's certainly not what I'm saying. I don't think that they are inherently. I think what people do, not how much money they have, is what defines them. The guy's clearly smart. He's got a big old brain, and he's great at business. He's the wealthiest guy in the world, and he did that on his own. He was a farmer in South Africa.
He didn't need a friggin' degree. People were even chastising him for not having a degree. Like, how are you going to trust this guy who has no degree, but he makes millions or billions? And I'm like,
You're so freaking condescending. It's like you're just mad because he had, the insight to do that. As much as a douche, I think Bill Gates is. He's a Harvard dropout. Okay. Steve Jobs was a Reed College dropout.
Well, it busts down the narrative that you have to go to college and you have to adhere to the system in order to be successful. And people don't like that. And I'm not saying that college is inherently bad. I'm saying you need to decide what's right for you. If what you want to do with your life requires a college degree, go ahead, go for it. Go off, queen. Yes, queen, whatever. I don't care. Slay king. I don't give a shit. But let's stop pretending like it's the only way to be successful. And so should we be critical of Elon Musk? Absolutely. We should be critical of everyone. I was the same when it came to Trump. Absolutely. Be critical of Trump. Be objective in your assessment of people. If you allow yourself to be ruled by your ideology, look, Elon Musk has ties to China. That's concerning. The guy has a lot of business going on over there.
He's got ties to the ACLU.
There's plenty of reasons to be concerned about what Elon Musk may or may not do with Twitter. Be critical of the guy. Make sure that you keep an eye on him. Hold him accountable. What he's saying is really pretty, but that doesn't mean he'll follow through. There's lots of things Elon Musk has talked about doing that he hasn't pulled off, right? So let's see where this goes. I'm optimistic, but I'm not stupid. And I think a critical, wary eye is something that you should always have when engaging in these things. But at least the guy is not a favor of silencing people. And that has been a very big rampant problem on Twitter. So let's see. What he's saying sounds good. Now let's hold him to it. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, then it's not the end of the world. We've lost lots of big. MySpace stopped working. Remember how huge that was? You know what I mean? Like the world will go on. We'll figure it out. Do I think there'll be a mass exodus from Twitter? No, I don't think there will be. But let's see what happens. Hold the guy's feet to the fire. Hold him accountable. I would say that of anyone. At least he's talking about not using ads to fund Twitter anymore, so that we can have an actual say and a little bit of control and a little bit of effect instead of continuing to be the product. We're the consumer. And I like a world where I'm a consumer, because that gives me power.
Right. Exactly. All right. So we're going to start winding this down, because we have to prepare for other shows, live streams. So so I'm so excited about that, and it's like, support all of us, come in, say hello. And, and keep the windows open, and, press that like button, as I like to say, and all that. So, all right, Lorena, go ahead and tell us what's going on with you. And we know that Dark Council's tonight. So go ahead and share a bit of that and advertise that, so we can know where to go.
Yes. Well, folks, first of all, thank you so much for being here. And please do smack that like button and subscribe to all the ladies here on the panel. The Dark Council is popping off at 8:30 p.m. Eastern tonight on the Drunk 3PO Basement channel. Of course, we're going to be talking about a bunch of things, including Elon Musk, also talking about the Batman is getting a sequel. And some other things. You know how we do it over there. Various pop culture topics with a little bit of social commentary peppered in there for good measure. So hope to see you guys over there. And again, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, so
thanks to Laura for hosting.
I love it. I do. I love it. And thank you guys so much for the help today, because I'm still not 100%, but I'm working my way, and to that, and sitting does a task on my back right now. So Mary, go ahead and tell us what's going on with you, because I know you have something going on too.
Yes. Well, hi guys, I'm Mary B, Mistress of Mayhem, Disruptor of the Narrative, and official Whammon card holder. You can find me over on my channel, Mary Mayhem, tonight, where I'm going to be talking with Literature Devil and Valiant Renegade. We're going to be breaking down, people have had a lot of questions about the Reedy Creek and the removal of Disney's special status, what that means for taxpayers. We're going to be breaking that down. We're going to be going over some of the more in-depth stuff with the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, and then continuing this discussion about the Project Veritas leaked audio for Elon Musk, as well as getting into some of that China discussion and his ties to China and what that could mean. So that critical eye that you've got to keep on things. So, come check me out over there. I'll be going live in about a half an hour, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, 3:30 Pacific. Is it 3:30, 4:30, 5:30? I think it's 3:30. It's 4:30. Mavi, I'm trying.
It's coming at 4 now, so you're late then, darling.
It's wild. So here in about a half an hour, we're going to be going live over there. Come check it out, and I'll see you guys over there.
And to Soul Assassin, F you, I do not want a Baby Yoda.
I like Baby Yoda.
I'm like in the very small minority about Baby Yoda. You guys already know that. You know me on that.
He's got a lot of problems, but I don't know. He's cute. He's got I acknowledge his problems. I know he's got problems, but he's so freaking cute. I can't.
Yeah, he just he likes to see me get triggered, so that's what he does. And thank you again for my mods here. And tonight at 7:30 Pacific Standard Time, I will be doing HoloNet Journal live stream, and we'll be going through this time in Lucasfilm, and it'll be for the month of March and April, with like development in the movies and the EU, and so it should be fun talking about all that. If you haven't, if you ever wanted to nerd out and learn about Lucasfilm and the development of movies and all this other stuff in the EU, just come and join me. And and we're all going to be probably our streams are probably all going to cross over a little bit with each other. So go ahead and support us all. Press that like button, say hello, and say that Laura sent you or Lorena sent you or what have you, and then just enjoy. So thank you guys so much for coming in, especially chat and my new channel member. Thank you so much. I will be having another chance for you guys to win prints of coming paintings here pretty soon. So stay tuned for that as well. And thank you guys again. And ladies, thank you so much. I love you guys. And you all have a great day. Let me find my outro now. I thought I had an outro. Here we go. I'm like, no, I don't have one for this one. So you guys have a great day.